Good morning, everyone. So my name is Nataliya Alkhimova, and I'm here to talk to you about applying Agile to analytics and business intelligence. I must say that I do not consider myself an Agile expert. I'm a business intelligence and data warehousing professional, but together with my teams, we have been quite successful in implementing Agile. And because of that experience, I do truly believe that in our area, in the area of analytics, business intelligence, data warehousing, Agile could be very beneficial. And if we apply Agile principles to what we do and use Agile frameworks to deliver solutions to our users, that could be really, really beneficial. However, it is fair to say that my Agile story did not have an easy beginning. In fact, it was quite a rocky start. And now, looking back, I'm thinking that it would have been a lot easier and it would have been so helpful if someone told me or explained things to me that I had to learn myself the hard way. And that is the reason that I'm here today. I'm here to share with you the lessons that I've learned through my experience, and hopefully they will be useful to some of you. So, how did it all start? I think my Agile journey began in a scenario which is quite typical. The organization that I worked for embarked on a large IT project, and my team was a big part of it. Because due to the changes that the project was implementing, we had to rebuild effectively our beautiful data warehouse from scratch, and we have to come up with a whole new suite of the reporting. That was a big project, around 18 months in duration, and we were a big part of it. But at the very beginning, our colleagues from the IT department, they came to us and they say, guys, great news, we'll be running this in an Agile way, and guess what? You will be doing the same thing. And then we just had this flow of new terms and new concepts just thrown at us, right? So suddenly it was all about Scrums and Scrum Masters, and we needed a product owner, and we had to come up with a product backlog, and there were stand-ups and retrospective sessions, and so on and on. And it wasn't that it was difficult for us to understand, because the concepts are quite simple, but the trouble was that we did not feel that it was relevant to us. We did not see ourselves being able to produce something in a 2-week sprint. And it all was a little bit foreign to us, because I think many people in our profession, we do not consider ourselves doing software development. And that's what it felt to us at the time. We felt like it was something foreign imposed on us. So I will be quite honest with you. We had rather a negative reaction to this initiative. There was a little bit of resistance, and it was not easy. So now looking back, and with all this experience that I have, I think it would have been a much better start if someone came to us and said, hey guys, let's start from the basics. Let's go back to the foundation and start from Agile principles. Let's have a look. And the first Agile principle, as probably most of you would know, says that our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. It does say software, and it's fair enough, it's where it's coming from. But if we just try to replace that software word with other terms which are more close to our house, data warehouse solutions, BI systems, reporting, analytics, actionable insights, would that statement still be valid? And I think very much so, because we do want to satisfy our customers through early and continuous delivery of valuable insights. BI solutions, we do. So that makes perfect sense. And I've done a similar exercise and gone through all of the Agile principles, and everywhere where it says software, I replaced it with those terms which are more close to us, and they all stand. So those basic, fundamental Agile principles, they still make perfect sense to what we do in our discipline. And if someone came to me and explained this in the beginning, it would have been a lot better start. The other thing that did not happen to us is that no one really said why we should do it. And I think it is critical for us to understand why we want to start doing something in a completely different way. Just because so many others do it, and maybe even that they do it successfully, it's still not enough of a reason for a new team to try it. You have to really know why. What is it the problem that you are trying to solve? What is it that you are trying to improve? Maybe it is true that things are taking too long, and maybe when we deliver our BI solutions, the customers are going, not exactly what I wanted. Or maybe it is that our development process doesn't have enough transparency and visibility. So all those things can be helped with an Agile approach, but you have to be conscious, and I think you have to truly acknowledge what is it that you are expecting to get out of this new way of working. And especially in our profession, I think, so we, people who work in the area of BI, most of us probably have in our job description the analysis part. We are the people who ask questions. So if you are bringing something to your team and saying, hey guys, let's try this Agile approach, be prepared that they will ask you why, because it's part of their job to ask this sort of questions. And you really should have good, valid, solid reasons to do it, because that's how you get people on board. The next thing which I think is crucial for successful implementation is that spirit of incremental delivery. It makes perfect sense, but I find it really hard to do in our discipline. Let's have a look at why is it valid and makes sense to do in BI. Well, first of all, it's basic economics. We spend a lot of money implementing BI solutions, and it's just fair that we give back something to the customers as early as possible, and that we'll continue giving them something rather than keeping them hungry for 6 months or a year. So that is a really good reason. But I think even more important and bigger reason for doing incremental delivery is the fact that it helps us to minimize the risk and minimize the waste of effort. Let me give you a few scenarios which I think so common in what we do. Customers of BI solutions very often don't know what they want until they see it. And even if it looks like they're giving us their requirements, in many, many cases, when we give them back the solution, they go, ooh, not exactly what I wanted. Can you change this and can you change that? But before we hear that from them, we already spent 6 months of development. Very common scenario. The other one is that I think even if we get the customers who truly know exactly what they want, and they give us their requirements, when we take them and we go away and build that wonderful, amazing solution for 6 months, the requirements fidelity decreases. And over those 6 months, things would have changed. Maybe market conditions changed. Maybe we had a new government. Maybe there is just simply changing the priorities, but those requirements that were valid on day one no longer valid. And again, when we present our beautiful solutions, we are not seeing the delight in customers that we were hoping for. The other one, which I think is also not uncommon situation, is that from time to time, the executives get really worried about something. One example that I've seen is that due to some anecdotal evidences, the executives thought that the organization was losing customers. Someone said something, and then this panic started that we are losing customers. So they came to the BI team and they say, hey, we need daily monitoring setup. We want to know what customers we are losing, where, what products they had. We need to know all that breakdown, and we need to have that daily monitoring. Right. In our profession, I think the good and the bad thing is that we are really good soldiers. When our generals tell us, do that, we go, yes, sir, and we jump into implementing it. So we did that, we spent time, we joined all the data that needed to be joined, we created beautiful reporting dashboards, And on day one it went live, we see that nothing really was happening. There was no drop in customer numbers. Everything seems to be business as usual. So that panic that started all this, it was not real. There was no crisis. But we have already spent time trying to come up with a solution. So I think this, and there are other examples of these scenarios where we spend time and then it's wasted effort. And we could minimize that if we do that incremental delivery. If we show something smaller to our customers early, give an opportunity to feedback, and we just go maturing the solution together with them. The other thing to keep in mind, I find, is that the big beasts are really hard thing to sell. Maybe you have some really smart, amazing initiative, right? Maybe you want to come up with something and do machine learning, AI, or maybe you have a mountain of technical debt that you want to address, right? And you're going to the business and you are asking for some resources to do those great projects, but they're big. And it's fair enough that business might be scared about investing so much resource into those projects. So it's a lot easier to sell something smaller and then prove that you are able to do it and then just incrementally mature that small thing into a bigger solution. So it is extremely important, that concept of incremental delivery, very important to what we do, but I see that it's so hard for us to implement. And I think maybe one of the reasons that somehow, I think we're being hard on ourselves. We think that the small pieces of delivery are not good enough. Like, if we create a report that only shows maybe a revenue by financial year, we think it's not good enough. We need to show additional breakdowns by customer type, by geographical region, and we need to create map, and we need to do that. Then we feel that we are delivering something valuable. So I think it's our failure to believe that small thing could be still valuable. So I believe that we need to do and put a conscious effort into doing this incremental delivery thing. And I think every time we are planning something, we need something that will trigger our thinking and force us into that mode of planning an incremental delivery. So I thought of a mental image that helps me. And I'm going to share that image with you. Here we are. So we do lots of really cool things in BI, in analytics, right? But let's pick up an average scenario. Business asks us for a suite of reporting, and to do that, normally we go through a set of steps. We collect requirements, we do some design work, we build beautiful comprehensive data sets, we test them, we go through the QA stage, then we build the reports, get it to the users, get the feedback, address the feedback, then we're sort of done, right? So sort of common scenario that organized into those layers. Now I have to do a disclaimer here. You have to believe me that I'm a lot better at designing data warehouses than at drawing cakes. So those who are artists in the audience, please forgive me for the imperfections in here. So we have our cake. You would think that it is an easy thing to eat the cake, but apparently, quite often we do it in a wrong way. So if we look how we do it in a waterfall way, we're going to be eating that cake layer by layer. And we're going to do that layer by layer, and that results in issues that we all know about. So I think the first thing that one of the main traps that is so easy for us to fall into when we move from the waterfall approach to this great agile idea of doing things, say, okay, incremental delivery. We're not going to work on big pieces. We're going to take it small chunks at a time. And what we do, we say, okay, let's do a little bit of requirements, and then a little more, and then a little more, and then we move to design. And we're doing it in small chunks, so we're doing it right? But we're effectively following the same waterfall approach, just disguised as incremental delivery in agile spirit, right? And that does not give us the results that we're after. So, the right way to eat a cake, as we all know, is slice by slice, right? And it is hard in our context, but it is so much more beneficial, and it reduces those risks and minimizes the wasted effort that we talked about before. So say, in that typical example where we asked for a report, maybe it's sales revenue by year. And maybe the business also wants to know that breakdown by type of client, maybe by type of products that is being sold, maybe by geographical region. But we said our first instincts would be, okay, let's do that all at once. We'll bring all that different data, we'll join it all together. It will be beautiful. We have to restrain ourselves. We have to think what would be the minimal things that we can do. Maybe we don't do any breakdowns, we just show the financial figure by year, full stop. And we follow through all the slices, through all the layers, we'll take that slice. And that would be a right way to eat that cake. The side benefit of doing that is that if we do it and we feed those slices to our business, the chances are they will get full before they finish the whole cake, right? Because maybe they thought that they need a solution that big, but when we are giving them something, maybe halfway or 3/4 through consuming that, they will say, you know, guys, thanks very much, that's enough. We don't need the rest. And that means we save resources and we do something more interesting. So, if you want an image for you to help you planning the incremental delivery, please think of my layer cake. On related note to that, if we are to do that, we need to be able to estimate our work. We need to be able to estimate our work items. And unfortunately, very often we come across the attitude from our team members when you ask people, how long will this take? Somehow they don't think that it's their responsibility to give the answer. They go, I have no idea, maybe a month, it's maybe an hour, it's really difficult to say. So I think we need to promote with our teams the idea that that attitude, it's not really helpful and it's not appropriate. So it is all right not to know how long this thing will take, but the right attitude is to say, okay, I don't know, give me a little bit of time. I'll check all the assumptions that I need to check and I'll get back to you. So that, I think, is very important to help our team members to get into that mindset. The other thing that I find that we need for successful implementation of Agile in our discipline is emotional intelligence. The concepts of the Agile are easy to grasp, but sometimes they're not easy to implement, and I think it's due to the human factor. So one of the things that I found is that you should be careful how high you wave that Agile flag when you are offering that new way of working to your team. And what I mean is that some teams could be really looking for something new, and they would be really happy and motivated to see something, yes, it's fresh, it's new, it's agile, all the new concepts. They might be happy to be called tribe and not a team anymore, and they will embrace it. But there could be more traditional and conservative teams. And I find that people sometimes get a little bit of a negative reaction. If you go too high waving that agile flag and everything is about agile, you start to feel a little bit of annoyance. And I think the way around it is that we don't have to go agile, agile, agile. Instead, we could be talking about the real benefits in simple language which everyone understands. So we don't have to call it a sprint review session, right, or a retrospective. It could be lessons learned. So I think it is important to keep that in mind, and you have to have a real feel about your team and what is their level of openness to the new concepts. On related note to this, you have to be beware of extremes if you are offering this new way of working to your BI or data warehouse or analytics team. Most likely you will get a bunch of people who are quite open to the idea and they are willing to give it a go. But there could be some radical camps. You most likely will get some people who would say, we are different. It's never going to work for us. I heard someone saying that it's like Agile and BI, it's like oil and water. Can't be mixed, right? So you most likely will hear that. You also might hear people saying that, well, we tried Agile and it did not work, right? So why bother again? And I think those negative emotions, they quite often come from the fact that there is a lot of misconceptions about Agile, and people have wrong idea of what it's all about. And when you face that, I think that's important that you go back to those basic principles and the fundamentals and explain what it's all about. The other extreme case, it's when people go, Agile will solve all our problems, which sounds good at first, but I think if people do have that attitude, they're probably missing something. Maybe they're being extremely optimistic, because Agile, it's not a magic wand, right? And if there are some maybe culture problems in the organization or some other issues, Agile will not just magically resolve them. And I think if people do have those expectations, sooner or later they're going to end up in a camp which says we've tried it and it did not work. So that's something that we should keep in mind and address those extreme views. Now, what I found that it's sort of make it or break it point for being successful in your Agile implementation is who do you choose as a Scrum Master. Let's assume we are doing a Scrum framework, right? And it's not about how many Agile trainings the person has attended or how many Agile certificates they have. All that would worth nothing if they don't have those 4 points. That's in my view. You know, a good Scrum Master might need a lot of different characteristics, right? But I think if the person does not have a manner that respect and authority with their team, they're not going to go far. And I think someone told me that for us, for BI, data warehousing, that manner comes a lot from knowing your stuff. So I think it would be very hard for a BI team to bring a Scrum Master from outside and say, here you go, make us the best Agile team ever. It would be hard. And I think your best bet if you have someone who has that knowledge of the discipline, who will be able to help with that incremental delivery and breaking down things, and have positive attitude along the way, because it's not easy. So people will get feeling a bit down, and you need someone with that positive attitude there to help. And you need energy to run the distance. I know that some of those rituals or planning sessions and retrospectives, when you get maybe a bit of negative feedback, they can be really draining. And you have the energy, you need to have the energy to sustain yourself through them. So to me, those are the key characteristics of a great Scrum Master. One more point that I would like to bring is that I feel that when we are talking about Agile, in most of the cases we are talking about delivering a better product for our customers. It's all about better product, faster, earlier. We need to make the customer happier. And I think sometimes we miss the other side to this Agile story. To me, it's not only about a better product, but it's about becoming a better team while you are delivering that better product. Because we know that it's not sustainable to have unhappy, tired team producing great product every day. It will just not happen. And to me, that team success stands on a number of things. Give a vision to your team. Tell them why we're doing it. But don't stop there. Provide also a clarity on how we're going to be going along that way. Motivate them. And then ensure that they have enough level of competency and maturity to get on with things. And if you do that, you will see how their competence and maturity grow. It was so satisfying to see my team members taking new challenges, and they just becoming a lot better, stronger, mature professionals during that Agile journey that we had. Few last points, just some things that I find important and just wanted to mention to you guys. In my experience, it was a lot easier to start from a project. When you are new to the Agile, I think straight away implementing it to the whole of your BAU could be really hard. So if you are new to it and you want to give it a go, find a project with a nice, known, limited scope, get a group of enthusiastic people, give it a go first, and then use all the lessons that they learn on that project to take that Agile way of working into the whole of your BAU. That's one. Second one, you get what you measure. I've seen some examples when teams implement Scrum framework, and we use points to estimate, and these points are being taken too far. Managers want to use them as a measure of success, as a measure of how effective the team is. And it almost becomes a part of people's performance metrics. I think it's a very dangerous route to go to, because if you do that, it's all will become a mathematical exercise it's all become about points, and you will forget that it's actually values that we are trying to deliver to our business. So be careful and not get carried away with using points as a measure of your success. And lastly, I think I've mentioned it a couple times during this presentation that Agile is simple, but it is not easy. It's simple because it's based on a simple set of very sensible values and principles, and they're easy to understand, but they're hard to implement properly because they require a high level of commitment, focus, and discipline. And it's only if you have that commitment, focus, and discipline, you will be successful. But if you do that, it's beautiful. I find it so enjoyable to work in the Agile team. Despite all the challenges I had at first, I would do it again. Thank you very much. That is me. Cheers.
Thank you, Nataliya. And we've got a couple of minutes for a couple of questions. Anyone with a question?
Hi, thanks for your talk. So, as we're aware, Agile is a bit of an umbrella term that can mean a lot of things for a lot of different groups. As you applied it in the sort of analytics, business intelligence space, did you find that there were elements of what's touted as traditional Agile that didn't fit, that you just let sit to the side and focus on other things?
I don't think there were elements that were completely relevant, but maybe there were elements that we had to tweak a little bit, right? So, for example, the aspect of the sprint review, right? The show and tell. A lot of things that we do, they're not immediately ready to be shown, because you can't, we get really excited about building elegant data structures, but if we show them to our customers, it's not the same as showing them a cool new functionality of an application, right? So we had to be a little bit wise and do something about that. So I would not say that I found something that was completely relevant, but we did have to, be wise and adjust some of the things.